Here we go then. Business, of course, still key in the news agenda at the moment. 48 hours on from that key Greek vote. How are the markets looking then, William?
Well, actually, the European markets are opening up at the moment. Quite a surprise. Let's just take a look at how things are here first at the moment. Perhaps hoping for coordinated action off the back of the G20 summit, which is still ongoing. Of course, the Federal Reserve Bank in America is meeting later. Maybe they're hoping for action from them too. And perhaps they're finding it encouraging that the IMF Crisis Fund has raised more than its target amount. It's now got $456 billion at its disposal. When we take a look at Asia, how things were there in the previous session, you can see why this is quite so surprising, because things have closed negative territory across the board, I suppose, apart from the Kospi, which was precisely level, you can see there. But why was that? Well, it was worries about Spain have been continuing to dog the markets. The Spanish cost of borrowing has gone through the roof. Record levels were again hit on Monday. You can see things climbing up here. Things have slightly dropped off from the 7.3% that we saw yesterday, but still very high, above the crucial 7% mark.
I mean, well, we've got potential industrial action in the north of the country.
That's right, yes. In fact, ongoing industrial action. A mining strike has been carrying on for around a month now, but Monday saw thousands come out on the streets across northern Spain. The government, as part of its deficit-cutting exercise, is reducing subsidies by around 2/3 for coal. Now, foreign coal is more competitive than that produced in Spain, hence the subsidies, but miners say that now is not the time to be getting rid of those subsidies in the middle of an economic crisis, and especially, of course, as just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a massive €100 billion economic bailout for the country's banking system. The miners are saying, why are we the ones who have to bear the cuts?
OK. All right. Well, all of these concerns, of course, about the Eurozone economy, they're still weighing heavily on those G20 leaders who are holding, of course, their summit in Mexico, as we've been telling you in the news bulletin. It seems that their focus is now on growth policies, with austerity getting rather less of a look-in.
Europe is center stage as the leaders of the 20 most industrialized nations gather in Mexico. On the agenda for the G20, global employment and growth. As he opened the summit, host Felipe Calderón was firm that all necessary measures must be taken to end the global crisis.
We can determine a long-term plan of action, a program we all want for our people, for growth, which generates jobs, and which works towards equality and justice.
European leaders are under particular pressure. There have been increasingly vocal calls for the EU to shift from austerity to growth, a position that could leave German Chancellor Angela Merkel isolated on the world stage. Although Greece seems on its way to forming a government, the US and China fear the economic crisis could spill over the Eurozone borders. The UK insisted that proposed reforms must be followed through and pushed for closer ties with Washington.
The EU and the US make up over half of the world's GDP. A deal here, a real free trade deal between the two of us, could provide an enormous boost to growth across the world.
Some optimistic language as the leaders expressed confidence that they can restore global growth. But the struggles of Greece, Spain, and Italy still cast a shadow across the Atlantic on the sunny shores of Mexico.
Now, next is the real story we want to know about. A Brit annoying the French, which is good in a place like this. David Cameron, he's annoyed the French at the G20, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's been mentioning again his comments about the competitivity, I suppose, of the new French tax proposals. Of course, François Hollande, a socialist president now in control in France, he's saying he's going to put the top rate of tax up to 75%. Let's hear what David Cameron has to say about that.
I've said before that if the French go ahead with a 75% top rate of tax, we will roll out the red carpet and welcome more French businesses to Britain, and they can pay taxes in Britain, and that can pay for our health service and our schools and everything else.
Didn't mince his words, did he?
Yeah, that might seem uncontroversial, I suppose, to a British audience, but it did actually get a little report of its own on the breakfast news here in France, national news here in France.
Excellent stuff. All right, then next, Apple has a new competitor when it comes to tablet computing. Microsoft's Surface hopes to take the fight to the iPad. So what does the new challenger have up its sleeve?
Surface versus iPad. Microsoft is heading for a showdown with Apple as the software giant unveiled its new tablet. The device will run the company's new touch-friendly Windows 8 operating system due out this fall. And it has some features that are already generating excitement.
Wow, it stands by itself. You don't have to buy a stand. It's all together. The keyboard folds over. It's a cover. All those wonderful things. But when I look at this, what I think of is the potential to get rid of the netbook, to get rid of the laptop, to maybe even down the line get rid of the full computer.
Like Apple, Microsoft has opted to make both the hardware and software for its Surface tablets on its own. That move potentially throws Microsoft into direct competition with its closest hardware partners, like Samsung and Hewlett-Packard.
It's a very interesting new device. I think the key point here is that it's not just another iPad. It's a device that almost serves as a replacement for a PC.
Microsoft is offering two models of Surface, which will run on two different types of computer chips, a gamble which may end up confusing consumers. Since its launch 2 years ago, Apple's iPad has already sold 67 million units, garnering nearly 63% of the global tablet market. With Surface, Microsoft is hoping to snatch market share away from Apple.
Yeah, we'll see if it takes off. And finally, it isn't just European nations struggling with unpopular austerity measures.
No, the reports of protests in Khartoum in Sudan on Monday over austerity measures unveiled there by President Omar al-Bashir. Now, of course, the economy is in a vastly different shape to that of Europe, but they have had incredible challenges of their own, with the South seceding, forming a new country, and no agreement being reached on sharing of oil revenue, so the economy has taken a real hit there. But there have been announcements of cuts to the number of civil servants, reducing popular fuel subsidies, and raising taxes on bringing goods into the country. So riot police have been used, batons and tear gas apparently have been used to break up protests in Khartoum, mainly of students apparently.
William, thank you very much. William Edwards, that's your business on France 24. That's your news as well. In fact, Claire will have the very latest after the break. Do stay with us.